This is Blessing Salami introducing Woman at the Well.
Welcome to the Woman at the Well, a place of hope and healing.
Fine, I studied, I did my work as a student. But when it came to my social life, I stayed with the hard ones because I wanted to feel hard. I wanted to know, I wanted to have a knowledge of how to be mean and take my revenge and take my own pound, take my pound of flesh from people who have offended me. Yes. So in this part, the woman at the well, as we go through, as we explore this woman, as we go through series of topics, we'll be talking about who you hang out with, your social life, your social circle. It was that point my mother said, thank God you are not a man. And I thank God too that I'm not a man, because I don't know what would have happened. And it is in God's plan that I wasn't a man, because He doesn't make mistakes. Never. So, back to how that funeral went. They tried to negotiate, they tried to stop it, they tried everything. They said, oh, we'll call Pastor and let him know. I said, well, Pastor has given me the order, the go ahead. I have everything. I've given him the budget. He's given me my budget. He's given me he's told me what the part they will play and all that. He said, but the pastor can't do that. We've been working with him for the past 1 week or so, was it 1 month or something like that. He can't just turn around because he's seen you. I said, well, unfortunately, that's how it is. And people of God, friends, family, that was how the table turned. And we took control. And that was buried. And the plans of the evil ones were thwarted. They were disappointed. And it didn't end there. It's a very long story. Apart from the fines and all the accusations, you said, we did, there was something that happened that I don't think has ever happened. In my community, what will happen is the maternal family will come to the land, the disease, the land of the deceased person. And then they will pick a place, they will choose a particular spot where they believe that, the disease should be buried. And that happened. My brother went and did that. And it was all done and selected. Well, they dug the grave for my late father. My brother was there, they done everything. All the traditions and what have you. Less than 24 hours, the same uncles came up with another story, that it will be over their dead bodies that it will be over their dead bodies for my father to be buried in that spot where their maternal family already chose. What was their reason? The reason was they were not there. None of them was a chief mourner. They were just his brothers. I'm not saying just his brothers in a derogatory way. I'm just saying it to emphasize that they didn't need to be there. It was just one way to stir trouble up again. The funny thing is, they abandoned that one and decided to pick another place. So 2 graves were dug in the same compound for one purpose within 24 hours. 2 graves were dug. Do you know, it was really devastating. People who came were like, oh my God, this is an abomination. There's a plan these people are up to. Why would they build 2? Why would they dig 2 graves and that? My God. And that was it. It was bad as that. They were everywhere. They just wanted control. They just wanted this remaining property. They just wanted shame. They wanted embarrassment. Or to say, oh, look at them. We said they were girls anyway. You know, but people of God, God had a way of sorting things out. God has a way of taking one person, you know, from a married clay and setting them up to sit with kings. It doesn't matter your background. It doesn't matter how poor you are. It doesn't matter how, you know, miserable life has taken you. God has a way of bringing you back together again. That was how my father was buried, by women. By women. So, when we finished, the eldest woman, she called me and she gave me something. She said, for honoring your father, I laughed anyway. She said, for honoring your father, take this mat, lay on it. He will come and meet you in the night to tell you thank you. That was the funny part. But as funny as it sounds, I know I had my blessing for that. Not because I did justice to it. I proved to the world that you can do anything regardless of your gender, regardless of your culture, regardless of how men see you. As long as God has your book in his hands, it doesn't matter who has written what against you. It doesn't matter the foundation that speaks against you. It doesn't matter where you're coming from. All that matters is what God has in plan for you, and you walking in divine direction and knowing the purpose of your calling. This is Blessing Salami. Behind every glory, there is a story. And I'll keep sharing my story. I'll keep sharing my story. You are more than a conqueror, says the Lord. You are undefeated. You are what you make out of yourself. But you can't do it without God. Because he's the author and the finisher of your faith. I'm glad to tell you today that this woman, this girl child who was written off, has degrees in her name, has a home in her name, has children in her name. My siblings are doing really well. In fact, there are some who are pastors. Yes, some came out as pastors, and not just pastors, they all have at least the first degree, the bachelor's degree. Yes, they do. It doesn't matter how long it takes. God works it out in his own time. And when he does, men fear him. Men fear him. Have you ever heard this saying, thank God we don't look like what we have been through? Oh, yes. I do not look like what I have been through. My supposed sisters don't look like what they've been through. And we owe it all to God. Do not think you are messed up, because in that messed upness, if there's any English like that, there is a message for somebody. There's a message of hope in that mess. You think you found yourself. There's nothing that is common to man today that has never happened, says the word of God. Your story can uplift somebody. Or are they laughing at you? Are you a laughing stock because what, you've been a divorcee? I'll tell you my story. I am also a divorcee, or once upon a time I was a divorcee. Yes. This woman sitting here has been through a lot. I have been through a lot. Divorce as your mess? Come with me. Let's take on the journey. Let's take this journey. What are the causes of divorce? God hates divorce. God hates divorce. God hates divorce. But does God actually hate the divorcee? I'm talking about woman, the girl child. And I'm talking about hate in a divorcee or divorce home. I think it is time for us to look at the issues, look at the problems surrounding divorce. John chapter 4, that's our bearing. John 4. I'm just led to read the Bible today. John 4:16. He told her, go call your husband and come back. 17. I have no husband, she replied. Jesus said to her, you are right when you said you have no husband. The fact is, you have 5 husbands, and the man you are now the man you now have is not your husband. What you have is quite true. I'm just going to read that part again. Jesus said to her, you were quite right about what you said about your husband. The fact is, you have had 5 husbands, and the man you now have is not your husband. And you have just said quite true. You have had 5 husbands, and the particular one you live with now is not your husband. So you're actually correct. So this woman went through 5 divorces. 5 divorce cases. 5. And then after the 5th time, I think she threw in the towel. And she said, you know what? I've lived with husband 1, husband 2, husband 3, husband 4, husband 5. I might as well not get married the 6th time. Let me just deal with any man. Let me just deal with any man. But that's not the case. The case is grace. 5. God's grace that was made sufficient for us was exhausted. I want to see that woman, or I want to empathize with her because I've had one divorce. And remember when I said I had zero confidence? Yes. I want to assume that her first marriage was a mistake, because I believe, no disrespect to anybody, that my first marriage was a mistake. Let's assume that. Why I say my first marriage was a mistake is I did not have a clue of what love is. No. I had no confidence in myself. I did not know God for myself. I did not know, because I did not know love. I did not know God for myself. I did not have confidence. Therefore, I did not know what I'll be able to tolerate. Then, not being able to know what to tolerate, I just thought every man would definitely have a wife. And there's a portion of the Bible I can't remember. It says, "Wives, submit unto your own husbands." So that means every woman on earth has a God-prepared own husband. So when you fail to understand who you are and your God, and you lack confidence, or there are other things you might be lacking, then you will fall into the wrong hands. But I just mentioned this part because I know myself. So I'm telling you as a person my own story. I'm sharing my story with you, that I lacked all it took to actually understand what was best for me. For somebody who lacks love, my interpretation of love was what I was told or was dished out to me at the time. For someone who lacked confidence, anything goes. For someone who I didn't have a male figure to look up to, my dad was there but wasn't there. So the only male figure who I saw at the time was the person in the first marriage. Now, I was abused, and I didn't know that I was abused. It was bad. Now I can laugh about it. But at the time, when I never realized it was abuse, I had a stick, what Nigerians will call a cane, kept for me anytime I misbehaved. It was brought out and shown to me. Have you started? There's your cane. I was abused, and I didn't recognize abuse. I was unloved, and I thought what I was seeing as, "I love you, it will never happen again. I promise." That is after being beaten or after being spoken to like a dog. "I promise this will never happen again," and it happens again. "Oh, I'm sorry, I love you. I did it because I love you." In fact, so much gaslighting going on. So much gaslighting went on. So much abuse of power. So much abuse of authority. Now, I mentioned before how much I hated men. It stemmed from somewhere. Number one, my family. My first family where I was born into. I hated my father with every fiber in me. Then I hated the man who abused me from the age of 14 till I was 18. Then I had a relationship, or it was so rosy. And that's the person I'm married to today. That's a story for another day. Please don't. Don't. That's a story for another day. So I had this perfect gentleman who came along and showed me what love is, and showed me care, and sweat my feet. And I don't want to talk about that today, not today at all. But something that looked so good, it was just so good. And whilst I was just about to begin to trust men again, that, oh my God, they're not all like that. Oh my God, they were not all like this other man. Oh my God, they were not. I was just trying to put my head together. What happens? He betrayed my trust by introducing another woman to me. Like I said, it's a story for another day. And that devastated me. I was so devastated, and I thought, they are all the same. There's no difference. They are pigs. And if I could just have one, after all, Dad wants me out of his house. If I could just have one, anyone, no matter how dirty or how stinking, as long as it's a man in one's marriage, I'll just go with that one. I'm done with them. If this one can actually break my heart, and Dad has done this and this man has done that, they're all the same. Nothing adds up. Nothing at all. There's no difference. So that's that's the mentality I went on with to getting into the first marriage in the first place. And I remember people saying, tell me your attraction. If you know Nigerians, they can emphasize on things, and we emphasize on things, and we could sound a bit poetic, and people will say, do you know who you actually are? So you stand with this kind of person, and you two are not compatible. And I'm like, just leave it that way for me. And every red flag, I would just sweep it off. Did I have my own shortcomings? Yes, because if you bring the other person and he tells his story, you will find out that there are other weaknesses. I had my own weaknesses. But what I'm trying to say is there are underlying issues around divorce. So please do not judge. We've gone past that stage where we become too judgmental. Leave judgment to God. Let him judge everyone according to our wills and everything that we've done on earth. Let's leave it to God. As Christians, let us leave everything called judgment to God. This woman at the well, she has had five husbands. And Jesus still stooped so low to ask for water from such person. But society today, they see such people and they say, oh, this is a divorcee. And they sit down and they talk about you. They talk about you. They don't talk about what you've achieved. They don't talk about they don't speak about what led to the divorce. They don't see the ills. They don't think about. I remember a lady who died from domestic violence 2 or 3 years ago. A prominent singer, Osinachi or something was her name. She died. But if that woman must have divorced, they'll take pulpit off her. She's not righteous enough to sing. She's not good enough to sing. She couldn't keep her home. Church, it is time for us to go past being judgmental. Let us take the bull by the horn and walk towards saving people first. The first thing that God called us to do is the ministry of reconciliation, and that is to reconcile, sinners, to reconcile people back to Him, people that are lost. The Bible says concerning the parable of the shepherd, it said He left the 99 that were going, and He went for the one that was lost. He didn't say, oh, that one is lost, is a goat, let him just go. Come on, 90. No, He never said that. If that shepherd would just say, oh, let that one go, let me go with the 99. Come on. Jesus didn't say, woman, and the first one, tell me your story. In fact, you're a harlot. You're a very stubborn woman. So it is very, very easy for society to criticize women without listening to our stories. And it breaks me when it happens, and my gender, my fellow woman, a woman who is supposed to comfort me in love, takes sides. I'm not saying don't take sides, but don't judge me. You do not know my story. You do not know my encounter. Not with man, not with God. Let us leave judgment to God. I was abused. I was bastardized. I was angry. I was helpless. I was frustrated. There was nothing good. The only thing good I can say proudly that came out of that relationship was my daughter. It's the only thing. And if we find ourselves in this society, remember I started our introduction by saying we're talking about Black minority women. The most important thing is that cultural shift, that cultural shock. When we think we can have it all, we can have it both ways. It is written in the book, the holy book, the Bible. If I'm talking to a Muslim woman, the woman is, is also written in the Quran. Everybody, the man, the woman, the children, we have our responsibilities and we have our rights given to us by God. So, coming to think that the woman should be judged, the woman should be thrown stones, the woman should be cursed, my God, it is time for us to go past that and begin to save ourselves. Divorce is not a crime. I am not here to talk or to advocate for people to start leaving their homes. No, please. God hates divorce. If you are comfortable, if you are loved, if it has to do with life, please step back. If you have to wake up in the morning afraid of what will happen, these words, words have a way of coming back. When somebody tells you that you will be going into mortuary, and that the mortuary means the morgue, that he will be sending you to the morgue, one day it will happen. It's no joke. When somebody tells you, I'll kill you and I'll kill myself, and nobody will find out what happens, he's not joking. When somebody tells you that you are nothing, in fact, you got nobody, because they know how low they have brought you, then you know it is time for you to rise above the waters and say, no, I need to discover or rediscover myself. There's more to a woman than staying in marriage, just sleeping, waking up, having children. There is more to you. There's more to you. I got divorced in the most devastating way. It was a matter of life and death. It was a matter of, I'll have my way, either way. So, black minority women and ethnic minority women, I want to speak categorically to us this afternoon, or this morning, or this evening, wherever you are. Know when to step back. But before you get married, know who you are. Find yourself and your place in God. Find your place and yourself in God. And divorce doesn't define you. That you are, in fact, at some point, I built my confidence by the grace of God. But that divorce, when divorce came, from the separation, I found myself going so depressed. In fact, I couldn't go out. I was so scared of what people were going to say. And people will always talk. It took me at least 5 years to get myself back together again and get the healing needed to move on. I was so anxious that if I stayed in the midst of, people, and they look at me, I would say, oh, they're talking about me. They might just be admiring me. They could just be, miles away from what I was even doing. But because the guilt ate me up. This person is very sociable, and I'm not an introvert, but I like my own little cycle, and I don't really associate with people. So if you see me on the first instance, oh, she's a proud person. So pride must have it. That's what, this man has told his own stories to his circle. So every time I went out, I knew 1, 2, 3 people shared my story without me knowing. Because we live in a very small community. So the guilt ate me up. Him playing the victim ate me up. And because I'm not a sociable kind of person, I didn't want to start counteracting what he said. So he said is, let me say mine. I don't have that time. So it ate me. It took me 5 whole years. I just stayed indoors. I learned to shop online. I learned to make calls online. I learned to mask myself. I learned to make my face up. I used to wear heels. I just started wearing trainers just so I can just tiptoe into the place without people knowing and tiptoe out of the place. I learned to be, and I became a shadow of myself. Because I have gone through no self-esteem or zero self-esteem to low self-esteem to building my esteem. Then somebody who's got no esteem has pulled me down to his level again, and then divorce has dragged me down to 0 again. So I had to start building, and I had to start healing, and I started again all over healing myself. In fact, at some point people were scared of me because you didn't know what to say to me, and I'll get agitated. It wasn't the person that was agitating me, it was those emotions. Those emotions were eating me up. And I became a shadow of myself. Divorce cannot define you, woman of God. If you're the woman at the well, what would you do? I bet that's why she went in the noon to get water when nobody had, where everybody, people had gone to work, people were gone to sleep, people had gone to school run, whatever. Everyone was busy outside because the well was a communal place. So she had to go at 12. The Bible was specific. It said she went there at noon. So that was the quietest time. I bet she was going through a lot. And this will be unfolding things that women do go through. First husband, second husband, fifth husband. And there comes the Messiah who came to heal her, who came to give her all that was needed for her to go into the next level, who came to launch her into what she was meant to do on earth. I bet she had this thirst in her, because Jesus said, if you are thirsty, just come to me. If you know what I carry, come to me. If you thirst, come to me. I bet there was something missing in that woman that she was looking for in the first one, and she didn't find it. Then to the second one. Now we don't have stories of if any of them died, if she was widowed as a result of one of her marriages. However, the emphasis here is divorce should not define you. That you were a divorcee today doesn't mean you cannot move forward. Get the healing needed. Find love again. First of all, discover whom you are. Discover yourself. And the only way to discover yourself, friends, is through the Word of God. I remember this day crying, just watching a movie. And I said, wow, my father didn't even do this. And the Spirit of the Lord said to me, say this one more time, and I will take what I have given to you. Rely on me solely as a father. Pretend as if you've never seen anything called earthly father. Just solely depend on me as a father. Have I ever failed you? It was like a conversation. Have I ever failed you as a father? And this song breaks me. I've known you as a father. I've known you as a friend. And I have lived in the goodness of God. Friends, all my life you have been faithful. God has been faithful. All my life you have been so good. With every breath that I am able, I will sing of the goodness of God. God bless you. Divorce cannot define you. You are a woman of faith. If Jesus can speak to a woman who was seen as an adulteress and had been married 5 times, he can speak to your heart. Let your heart be open to him. Let separation, relationships, let it not define you. Let your messed up life not define you. You can make a turn around. You can draw water this afternoon from the well, this morning from a well. The well that never runs dry. You can draw from him. And still be influential. God bless you.
The Woman at the Well, sharing your story and glory with Blessing Salami.